Good evening. Welcome to RSBN Live. I'm Matthew Alvarez. You're looking live at the beautiful White House tonight on this Friday, February 21st. CPAC is getting close to being done, but we're going back out to CPAC for day 2 as the Ronald Reagan dinner will be wrapping up soon. But before it wraps up, the great pick by President Trump, the Secretary of Department of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, will be speaking a keynote speech there. So we're going to take that live as soon as it starts. And then, of course, tomorrow, President Trump speaking at CPAC. You can catch some pre-show coverage with RSBN host Robert McNeely and Ashley Brassfield and Christina Loren live from National Harbor, Maryland. Looking forward to seeing that coverage. Of course, as the president speaks to CPAC and yet again another national audience watching what he says. He's had a few speeches even today. There were a lot of great moments that we saw when it comes to people getting sworn in, people that are all-stars within the cabinet there, including Kash Patel, which is outside the cabinet, of course. The FBI position is not part of a cabinet position, but still appointed to that department, the Federal Bureau of Investigation. So Kash Patel is now the director at the FBI. And then within the cabinet, Howard Lutnick, the Secretary of Commerce. So great to see two all-stars in their positions to do great things for our country. One with the economy and trade and tariffs, and one with law and order and law enforcement throughout our country. So looking live there at two beautiful pictures from Washington, D.C. So those of you on the feeds right now, live here on the streams on Rumble, YouTube, X, Facebook, on the app, on the website, hello to you. Welcome. Glad you're watching. Glad you're joining us here on this a little bit of a later broadcast tonight, but definitely looking forward to hearing from the DHS Secretary, Kristi Noem. All right, so also on X earlier, the White House quoted what the director of the FBI, Kash Patel, said during his speech. I am living the American dream. We will uphold the Constitution. We will uphold ourselves to the Constitution. That from the FBI Director, Kash Patel, ensuring the FBI serves the American people and upholds its core mission to enforce justice fairly. So a lot of great news today, as you guys saw throughout the day here on RSBN. Of course, if you missed any coverage, what's always great is you can go to Rumble, our channel there, and just click on anything you missed and watch it in full or just watch a portion of it. And always it's great to see the amount of views going up on Rumble and on YouTube and other places that you watch, X as well. So a lot of people, of course, getting into the conservative media space now because a lot of people turning off the mainstream media and switching the channel, but not really changing a channel with a remote control, but maybe with your phone or your iPad or your Microsoft Surface, if you have any of those out there. Also, your television screens, your computer screens, laptops, everybody getting an opportunity to watch live events here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, and a lot of live news, of course, as well, as we cover America First news here, breaking news, political news, of course, as we are focusing in on Washington, D.C., the nation's capital, the 47th Commander-in-Chief, President Donald Trump. So looking forward to bringing you more and more coverage as we grow here at the network. Also, next week, a lot of coverage as well, including on the 26th, on Wednesday, President Trump's first cabinet position, first cabinet meeting is happening on Wednesday, the 26th. And then on March 4th, he'll speak to a joint session of Congress. So we're looking forward to seeing those speeches and also that meeting there. As much footage that we get, whether it's live or recorded, we'll bring it to you here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. So also, the latest on the confirmation process of cabinet members right now. 18 of President Trump's picks have been confirmed. There are 4 people awaiting cabinet confirmations, Senate votes, final votes. The U.S. Ambassador to the UN, that's Elise Stefanik, waiting on the Secretary of Education, Linda McMahon, and the Secretary of Labor, Lori Chavez-DeRemer, and also the U.S. Trade Representative, Jamieson Greer. So 4 people left to be confirmed and have that final vote in the Senate. And then moving forward, it'll be great to see that cabinet meeting on Wednesday, the 26th. It's going to be quite awesome to see that because think about how powerful that table of people are. When President Trump sits there in the middle and you have the Secretary of Defense, or you have the Secretary of Health and Human Services, or you have the Secretary of Education, you have everybody around you. And you know that each of these people have been vetted. Each of these people are loyal to the MAGA movement and to freedom and to, yes, loyal to President Trump, but also within that framework, loyal to the Constitution of the United States, which President Trump is as well. So it's a great combination of people for our country. Really glad to see it. Looking forward to covering it here at the network, as our other hosts as well, of course, RSBN's Robert McNeely and Ashley Brassfield, Christina Loren live tomorrow at CPAC. And then Robert McNeely will be back here in studio, some solo coverage, and also here as we, two of us, share the news with you and cover a lot of what's going on out there. So this all brought to you by MyPillow.com. MyPillow.com, Mike Lindell. Saw him earlier on the broadcast today. Always fun to interview Mike, and also always fun to purchase a product or products from his website. More than 2,000 products on that website. That, according to Mike. And also use that RSBN promo code. You'll get those great percentages off of a number of the various products on there. So I can tell you this, tomorrow morning, hopefully you guys will tune in early so we can watch the president speak. I'm not sure exactly what time we'll be speaking tomorrow at this point, but our coverage does start at about 8:30 Eastern, 9:30 Eastern as well. I'm trying to figure out which time. I'm not sure yet which one it is. I'm pretty sure it's 8:30 Eastern, but you might need some My Coffee in the morning. Just wake up, enjoy a Saturday. A little bit of a rally vibe going on, because it was usually on a Saturday that there'd be those weekend rally days, and it'll be great to see President Trump speaking at CPAC, as you're looking live right now at, of course, the U.S. Capitol building, where President Trump, some 32 days, exactly 32 days ago, spoke there at the U.S. Rotunda, U.S. Capitol Rotunda, and was sworn in as the Commander-in-Chief. And he hasn't looked back. He's going, but it's all within a great pace, a historic speed that we're seeing, and with strength. So awesome to see that. All right, so also there is some new video from the Department of Defense. Since we're talking about the Department of Homeland Security with Kristi Noem, of course, videos are out there of her talking about any illegal immigrants that are trying to come into the country, especially anybody that are criminal connected, that it's just not a smart idea, because at the end of the day, they'll be turned right around right there at the border. So we do have some video from the southern border of a UH-72B Lakota. It's a helicopter flying near Laredo International Airport. And what we see there, once we get a chance to look at some of that footage there, is a great look at the border wall. But also what you'll see in the video we're about to play is there's portions of the wall that are being built. And it's great to see that in Texas, and I believe it was California and Texas, that the additions of the wall are being put up. Of course, the president is having the wall all the way from the edge of California all the way to the east of Texas there to cover the entire border of Mexico and the United States. So let's look at that video maybe on a split screen here a little bit. We could talk about what we see as we're seeing a number of people from the 63rd Theater Aviation Brigade. These are U.S. soldiers assigned to the 63rd Theater Aviation Brigade. Down at the border. You can see just a little bit of the wall there, just a real small portion of it, but that's all getting added on. And then this great vantage point here as well, along the wall, all the way along the Texas-Mexico border there. So this wall is getting complete, it's getting sealed, it's getting secured, and that is exactly what the Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem is all on board with, including, of course, President Trump and the border czar Tom Homan. So a lot going on there along the southern border. It's a beautiful picture to see the protection there that's happening for our country. So that was in Texas last week. This is as the U.S. Northern Command. They're working together with DHS to bring the temporary physical barriers to add additional security that will curtail illegal border crossings. That video was by a U.S. Army Sergeant Caleb Woodburn. So it's great to see the various DoD videos that come into Right Side Broadcasting Network as we share with you what's happening there specifically on the border. So quite awesome to see that. Speaking of awesome, it was great to see a number of people at CPAC today, including Representative Byron Donalds, who is running for Florida governor. Also, it was great to see the White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt at the end. I didn't get a chance to see that entire clip. So what I'm thinking is what we might be able to do here. I was saying we might not need to use this interview, but I didn't get a chance to see it, so maybe you didn't get the chance to see it either. But this interview with Carolyn Leavitt, Mercedes Schlapp of CPAC interviewed Carolyn a little bit earlier. So I'm wondering if the crew, if we can play that clip a little bit as we await the DHS secretary to have a speech there at CPAC. Again, we'll be going back to the Reagan dinner in just a minute. So it does sound like we'll be able to get that video up and running in just a couple minutes. So we'll toss to that soon, where, again, Carolyn Leavitt, the White House press secretary, getting interviewed today by Mercedes Schlapp with CPAC. That happened just some hours ago. So we'll replay some of that as we continue our CPAC coverage today, because this Ronald Reagan dinner is a tradition at CPAC, and tonight's keynote speech, of course, from the Secretary of DHS, Kristi Noem. So looking forward to that speech, and also hearing, probably we'll hear statistics of numbers like in a 24-hour time period, some 200, a little bit, it was less than 300 people, I know that much, but less than 300 people were trying to cross the border in a 24-hour time period. That is down from about 11,000 each day under the Biden administration. So we see a dramatic decrease of the amount of people even trying to cross. They know that there's a new administration. They know that Trump means business, that Homan means business, and the military. How about that alone? The presence of the United States military and the National Guard and everybody there along the border, some 5,000 active military putting up wiring along the border, but also just the presence of them, again, is a deterrent for anybody that sees that on the other side of a border. So we're seeing that happen. It's a great thing for our country. And again, that was the number one core promise that we saw with President Trump and the RNC when it came to what's happening in our country to take care of business. It was that safety aspect. It was to stop that flood of illegal migrants, to stop the amount of fentanyl and the criminals that would be coming across the border. So that has been a great thing to see as we approach the top of the hour, about 9 o'clock Eastern time. We're hearing that the speech for Kristi Noem will be in about 10 minutes from now. But let's go back to CPAC from just a bit earlier today. Again, the White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt getting interviewed by Mercedes Schlapp of CPAC. Let's go to that from earlier.
Ladies and gentlemen, up next, an interview with the White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt and host CPAC Senior Fellow Mercedes Schlapp.
She's going to be doing the White House press briefing from the CPAC stage, right? No news. Sorry, guys. No way. All right. It's so great to have you here. Okay, so is this your first time at CPAC?
This is not my first time at CPAC. In fact, last year when I was at CPAC, we were on the campaign trail with President Trump.
Yep.
I was doing Media Row, and I was pregnant with my child. I was wearing this big blazer, and now I have a 7-month-old baby, and we're at the White House. So it's been a good year.
Well, for me, it's an honor to be with you and be able to interview you. I do feel you're kind of like my kid's sister. And I do know that blondes have more fun because my younger sister is also blonde. But, I got to ask you, we're 31 days in to this administration, this historic Trump administration. What's the president's mood?
Jubilant, excited, exhilarated, and defiant. And the president is not backing down. We've seen judges in courts acting like judicial activists. We have Democrats who are hooting and hollering outside of empty federal office buildings because we want to simply cut fraud, waste, and abuse from our federal government. And we are not going to be deterred. The president will not be deterred. He is going to continue moving forward, delivering on the promises he made. And look at 30 days, the golden age of America has begun, and we're just getting started.
All right, give an insight into, when you walk into the Oval Office, President Trump is there, he presses his button to get his Diet Coke, which is one of the coolest things, and then he sometimes will ask you, do you want one too? And so, and you really don't say no, even if you don't like Diet Coke, guys, I'm sorry, you don't say no. But, when he comes to you and he says, Caroline, this is what we need to say, I mean, give us an insight as to one of those instances that you can recall that you were like, wow, okay, he's really in charge. We got to get this done.
Yeah. I mean, every single day. The president, we joke.
Every single day.
He's the president of the United States. He's also the communications director of the White House because he dictates the message. He executes the agenda. One of the things I love about President Trump, and I think what makes him such a great leader, is that he's so deeply involved in every decision that is made, every speech that is written, every executive order that is signed. Where most politicians, you just hand them the script and they read it. President Trump cares about every word he is saying and every action he is taking.
To the point of putting the period or exclamation point, right?
Or the capitalization of a random word, that too.
Okay, that's a good one as well. But I got to ask you because, Mark Rubin, that guy who's, I don't know, he makes money or whatever. He said that he made that comment during the campaign about there's no strong or intelligent women around Donald Trump. Those strong and intelligent women, I think, are one of the most critical parts of the White House.
Definitely.
And how he listens to the women. Mm-hmm. Tell us about that.
Absolutely. Look at the White House and look at the exceptional cabinet that President Trump has put together. Who loves the cabinet team that President Trump has put together? It's amazing. It's amazing. And while we don't care about identity politics, you brought it up, and it's true. The president has appointed Susie Wiles, who is our first female chief of staff in United States history. Brooke Rollins heading up the secretary, she's our Secretary of Agriculture. We look across the entire cabinet. There are incredible women. Linda McMahon leading the Department of Education. The list goes on. And the White House is full of working women. In fact, I was going up the staircase in the West Wing today and saw two of my female colleagues, both of whom are pregnant, having babies this year, and they're working and they're saving America because President Trump believes in the best people for the job, the brightest people for the job.
That's right. So tell us, that first day, because I remember we were like, okay, it's Caroline Levitt's first press briefing. How many of you people were watching out there? So, of course, as the older sister, I'm like going, I better start praying right now. And we're both Catholics, so I'm like praying to Mary, the saints, everybody else, Jesus. I'm like, Jesus, come on, just cover. When you walked into that White House press briefing room, now you were there beforehand as one of the press assistants, but this is different. This is one of the most important jobs of the administration. How did you feel?
Yeah.
And what was your focus? How did you know, okay, I'm ready, I mean business?
Yes. Well, there is extensive preparation that goes into each briefing, and I'm so blessed to have an amazing team at the White House who helps me prepare. I brought three of our big guns yesterday. We had Stephen Miller and Mike Waltz and Kevin Hassett join me at the podium to celebrate 1 month. And I lean on the policy experts in the building and, to figure out what is fake news versus what is truth. So a lot of preparation, a lot of reading, talking to the president to understand his thinking. And then when I got to the podium, I realized the president is delivering on everything he said he was going to do, which makes my job as his spokeswoman easy because I'm not working for a politician who's lying and we have to spin. I'm working for a man who said things and he's delivering on those things every day.
Now, I remember, because I worked in the first administration, and the press secretary at the time, I was a strategic communications senior advisor for President Trump, and our press secretary at the time was now Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders, who will be on stage with me tomorrow. But I remember those exchanges between Sarah and this guy, let me remember his name, wait a second, the CNN guy, Jim Acosta? Oh wait, he's not on CNN anymore. That's right. He was like, it was just so, I would say, you don't mind the aggressive questions, you take the aggressive questions, but it was just always to the point that it was like, how do you destroy Donald Trump? How do you destroy the individuals of staff? It was so, when they do say Trump derangement syndrome, and I do think that there's also Elon Musk derangement syndrome happening too with the media, because they don't know how to handle it. How do you view that differently from the first administration till now? Because it was a lot of dealing with Russian hoax at the beginning, special counsels. It was constant because the media was trying so hard to, and they never apologized, right? They didn't apologize about the Russian hoax. Yeah, that's right, they didn't. So this time around, it's a very different strategy that you all are taking forward. What is that strategy?
Well, first of all, since you brought up Jim Acosta, he's been saying some not so nice things about me online, and I've resisted responding, but since you brought him up, I'd like to say,
let's go.
To Jim, at least I have a job, Jim, okay? Just saying. Now, moving on, as far as the strategy, we are on offense. We are on offense every single day, and the president leads from an offensive mindset. We are not going to apologize for cutting waste, fraud, and abuse from our government. We are not going to apologize for mass deporting illegal immigrant criminals who have broken our nation's laws and terrorized our communities. And we are not going to apologize for slashing regulations and undoing the disastrous policies of the previous administration. That's what the president said he was going to do, and that's what the majority of our fellow Americans want. The latest CBS poll, 70% of Americans say that President Trump is delivering on what he said he was going to do. So we're not going to apologize. We're going to keep moving ahead, and we try to bring that approach in our messaging every single day.
So I got to ask you, you're working all the time. These jobs are, when I tell you so demanding, they are so demanding, and I do feel that it is like warp speed what you're dealing with, even more so than we saw in the first administration. How do you get the strength to just get through every single day?
My faith in God, absolutely. Waking up every day and just remembering I'm blessed, and we're all blessed to live in this country and to have a president who is looking out for us every day, family support, and our team at the White House. We really have a great team. And you talked about how the media tried to cause so much division within the White House in the first. They are not getting away with it because we truly have such great camaraderie, and the people I work with every day, they're friends and we're together. 18 hours a day, so you gotta like who you're around. But we truly are having fun and we're getting work done. And again, the president is leading with that positive, happy warrior attitude, and it transpires to the rest of the White House every day.
And in the first administration, there were those chiefs of staff that were trying to undermine President Trump. Susie Wiles is so impressive in terms of being able to bring order and just, I think, so much structure to what we're seeing at the White House. Your reaction?
Susie Wiles is wildly respected by every single person in that building, and she sets the tone, she sets the pace. She's like that person in your life that you'd never want to disappoint. Like, you'd never want Susie Wiles to look at you and be disappointed. Everybody just has the utmost respect for her, especially the president. And they have a great relationship, and she's done a phenomenal job. She led the most historic campaign in American history, and the biggest victory on November 5th. And we're so grateful to have her at the White House.
Now, I remember when I met Caroline, she was running for Congress in New Hampshire.
Yes.
And I mean, the energy and the charisma of this young woman. How old were you at that time?
Oh gosh, I wasn't
Like
even old enough
22
to be in Congress when I started the campaign.
Yes.
I was 23 years old
Yes.
and turned 25 in the midst of it all.
So what lessons did you learn during that campaign? And I watched you in action to what you are able to apply that to your job today.
So many lessons. First of all, running for office was an incredible experience, and I think it helped prepare me a lot for this job. But obviously, public speaking, not being afraid, and just doubling down on your positions and your values, and grateful for the experience. Glad I lost the general election because this job is a heck of a lot more fun.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, you realize something in life and you appreciate this. God has a plan, right? God has a plan for every single one of us. And, with disappointments that come in life, then come other great opportunities and great things. Okay, so let's talk about the Gulf of America. Okay. So, tell me what happened with the AP. Give me what's going on here.
So,
it's just us, right? It's just us. Okay.
Well, I really would love to answer this question, but upon driving over here from the White House, I actually learned that I have been sued by the Associated Press.
Oh, that means, we cannot. Okay.
Yeah.
Wait, personally?
We'll see them in court.
Wait a second. Personally?
Yes. Yes.
See, this is what these people do. It's called lawfare. You can't say it. I'll say it. It's called lawfare, people. That means I'll probably get sued in the next 30 minutes or so. Okay, keep going.
So I wanted to get the White House counsel on the phone before taking this stage to see what I can and cannot say.
You really can't say anything.
But look, we feel we are in the right in this position, and I said in my first briefing at the podium, we are going to ensure that truth and accuracy is present at that White House every single day. And one of the changes that we made, President Trump ran a non-traditional media strategy on the campaign trail, and he owned it, and he did podcasts, the Theo Vaughn podcast, the Joe Rogan podcast. He went places that no other politician has ever wanted to go, and it helped him earn votes, it helped him earn support, and we wanted to continue that approach with the White House. So we've added the new media seat in the White House briefing room.
That's been fantastic.
Thank you.
Yes.
We are inviting podcasters and influencers and independent journalists who aren't constrained by this legacy media bias to join us. They deserve the privilege of covering the President of the United States just as much as any other legacy media outlet who has spewed lies about President Trump for years.
Lies about President Trump, lies about the people who work for President Trump, lies against people like yourselves. This is what the media, so many in the media have done. I'm not saying all of them because there are some good eggs out there for sure. But there is definitely the sense that they drove this narrative, that they pushed this leftist agenda. Didn't they forget to talk about Biden's mental decline for quite some time?
Yeah. That was a narrative that they just ignored, I guess, the cover-up of the century.
What were they doing? Sitting out there in the White House just like eating popcorn and going, yeah, why isn't he coming out to speak to us? And they didn't cover it.
And I was so glad that Stephen Miller called out the press yesterday in the briefing. I'm not sure if you guys saw that. But he said many of the people in that room covered up Biden's mental incompetence. And he is right. And if you talk to these reporters off the record, that's the worst part about it. They won't report on it, but they will tell you off the record to your face that they knew Biden was incompetent.
Yeah,
that the White House staff sometimes weren't showing up until noon. No work was being done. Nobody knew who was in charge. We all knew the truth in this room, and they tried to tell us, don't believe your lying eyes. He's, has all this energy and spirit. It was always a lie, and shame on the media for peddling it.
There's this thing called the press pool, and so President Trump, he's in the Oval Office with all of his executive orders, the blue binders, and there they bring in the press pool, and he loves it. He thrives on it. Tell me about those exchanges. I just feel like the press, they're really, I don't know if they can work these 24-hour cycles of President Trump's new administration. Can they?
They're exhausted. They're exhausted.
Don't you think they should just take a vacation at this point because they just can't keep up?
Well, we've signed 73 executive orders. Actually, the president was signing 2 more when I left the White House, so 75 executive orders. quadruple the number of Barack Obama, double the number of Joe Biden in that same period of time. He is outworking every president ever, and the media can't keep up. But that first day, President Trump was, think about this, he was inaugurated, swore the oath of office, goes to the White House, sees his old office for the first time, the Resolute desk, and he says, let's invite journalists into one of the most intimate spaces of the American presidency in the Oval Office, and I'll take questions from them on any topic they want for more than an hour. This is the most transparent and accessible president we have ever had, despite what the media wants to say.
So, you're a mom.
I am.
Isn't that fabulous?
It's the best thing ever.
It's the best thing ever.
It is.
And I will tell you, in my time at the White House, it was with Sarah Huckabee Sanders, Ivanka Trump, Kellyanne Conway, Brooke Rollins. Between all this, we had 19 kids. I just, goodness gracious, a lot of kids. It's a huge sacrifice. It's a huge sacrifice. But you look at your son, Nico, and why are you doing what you're doing?
For him and for all of the other children in this country, we have a country to save, and I want my son to grow up in a free and patriotic America that we can be proud of, and thank you. I try to remind myself of that. Thank you. Thanks. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, one more question here. So yesterday I asked Vice President J.D. Vance.
Yes. Who's great, by the way? Who loves our Vice President?
I mean, seriously.
The best.
I asked him the question, what is your message to young men? There's a lot of young women out there, young girls who really admire you. I mean, in addition to being the youngest press secretary in history, really doing the work that you're doing and just being so strong while you're doing it. It's so admirable.
Thank you.
What's your message to these young women?
Stay strong, speak the truth, and don't let anybody tell you you can't achieve your dream or you can't get to that next step. Just believe in yourself, because there will be a lot of people who don't believe in you, who cast doubt on you, who talk bad about you. Screw them. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Ladies and gentlemen, Caroline Leavitt, your press secretary.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes day 2 of CPAC 2025.
So as a member of the press, it's great to hear from the White House press secretary, only 27 years old and perfect for this position. It's great to see someone that is on point when it comes to patriotism and freedom and love for our country. So a number of us have interviewed Caroline along the campaign trail as well. And you've seen her on various national and even mainstream media, and they try and say all these things, and she just gives it right back, but in truth and in common sense. And you just can't win when you go against somebody that is speaking so much truth and common sense. And that's what's great about conservative media, as we are, I guess, in the umbrella of new media, but still the media reform that's happening in this country right now is awesome to see. This is patriotic media. This is the Constitution-based media right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. Of course, other conservative media outlets and podcasts and social media out there, but all in the same team in the sense of really working for freedom for this nation and for the right things to happen, the common sense things to happen. So as you heard there, if you're just joining us now, though, Carolyn said that President Trump has signed 75 executive orders, and it's been exactly 32 days today that he's done 75 orders, quadruple what Barack Obama did in the same period of time, double what Biden did in the same period of time. And what's interesting is the executive orders, if you looked at them from Biden and Obama, they were all anti everything we stand for the majority of we the people in this entire country. So they were terrible executive orders, and now we have real common sense executive orders being signed every day. And it's great to see it because we're seeing so many things getting taken care of throughout this country. And it takes a little bit of time for some of them. I mean, can we snap our finger and have everything come right back? That was pretty cool. That worked out right away, that time of the switch over to the U.S. Capitol. But can that happen where you snap your finger and before you know it, everything is perfect? Well, a number of things have actually turned around already. A lot of promises made, promises kept already have happened. So we're seeing those. We'll monitor them here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. And we're not only covering what you see there, the U.S. Capitol building and congressional hearings and House votes, Senate votes, confirmation votes. We're also covering, of course, the White House, the Pentagon, the State Department, and also news that's outside of the Beltway. If the president or the vice president are traveling throughout the country, or if the Secretary of State is doing that, or the Secretary of Defense is doing that, or even outside of all of that, we're covering America First news, breaking news that you would maybe see on a traditional news outlet. Well, we are journalists. We do cover those kind of things that happen as well, because if you want to know about a specific storm that's happening in an area, we do talk about those things here. We have a meteorologist, actually, Kristi Loren, who's doing a great job as an RSBN host, but she also knows a lot about weather. But on top of that, a lot of years of experience in journalism within this team at Right Side Broadcasting Network as we continue to grow. And also, again, if there's a breaking news story, like unfortunately the other day, that plane that landed on its roof, the Delta plane in Toronto coming out of Minneapolis. So we went live and had breaking news with that. Glad that everybody survived that. And that isn't something that you would be used to seeing on Right Side Broadcasting Network, but it's something that we're starting to do, is cover various stories outside of politics, but definitely with a focus on President Trump, the White House, and seeing the country be made great again. So thank you so much for streaming in on this Friday night. It is February 21st, 9:21 Eastern Time. A beautiful night there in Washington, D.C. Looking forward to President Trump tomorrow at CPAC. Going to be awesome to hear his speech there at that great conference. And then also RSBN's Robert McNeely, Kristi Loren, and Ashley Brassfield will continue their commentary, analysis, and also the interviews. They've been conducting many interviews, of course. You could watch a lot of them on Rumble, on YouTube, everywhere we've posted them. And also, I remember the other day, Robert McNeely interviewing the great Nigel Farage out of London, of course, with the UK, Reform UK Party. A lot of great interviews by all of our hosts. And so more of that tomorrow, but also that commentary prior to President Trump speaking at CPAC. And also, again, it's mini. I'll just for old time's sake, if you want to call it that, it's rally day tomorrow at CPAC because President Trump is having a speech on a Saturday. It's Right Side Broadcasting Network. You have the hosts, you have the commentary. It all sounds like a rally to me. And maybe people that are in line at CPAC, maybe we can get some interviews with people as they wait for President Trump to speak. So we'll see how tomorrow's coverage goes. Of course, it's going to be great because it's right here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. And we thank you, viewers, for being so loyal to this network over the years. There's a huge loyal fan base at Right Side Broadcasting Network, and it's a large number of people. And those of you watching even tonight on a Friday night, you could be doing a number of different things on a Friday at 9:23 Eastern, but you're here live with us as we get ready to go to the Department of the DHS Secretary, Department of Homeland Security, of course, with Kristi Noem, who will be speaking at any minute over at CPAC over in National Harbor, Maryland. So, Director, if we do have a live feed there, we could maybe pull that up on a split screen, and then we can get ready to go to Kristi Noem, who will be the keynote speaker at the Ronald Reagan dinner. This is a tradition every Friday night of the CPAC conference. And of course, if you know, CPAC has global conferences. Pretty awesome to see conservatives from anywhere in the world that are part of the free world that really just want to see freedom reign in their country. And we are seeing it happen here. And think about this. I mean, this is more just a few thoughts over the past week. We've heard things like, well, Are they going to abolish the the federal tax or the IRS, or are we going to get $5,000 checks from Doge savings? Who knows? But the point is, now that we have Kash Patel at the FBI as well and Pam Bondi at the AG's office, there's a sense of strength and power back in our country and patriotism, and it's great to see that. And also on top of all of that, not forgetting our God in heaven that created everything out of nothing. If you think about it, he created everything out of nothing. There's nothing there. He spoke and it happened. And if you have, you're not sure about your faith right now with that, doesn't make any sense, it's up. Obviously you're on your faith journey, and if that's not something you want to go to, of course. I mean, it's a free country, and that's what I'm talking about. It's awesome to have that freedom to be able to think how we want and talk how we want. Now, if you go too far, there's some illegal things you can say that will get you in trouble. But I'm saying outside of that, though, we have freedom of speech here. We have freedom of the press. We have freedom of religion. And having all of these huge, strong pillars around us with these great cabinet picks that President Trump has. Guys, if you missed President Trump's speech earlier today to the governors of the states, did you see the old school Donald Trump? The old school Donald Trump today. If you don't know anything about what I'm talking about, the Maine governor had a few choice words for the president in front of all 50 governors. President Trump was talking about the NCAA and saying they're banning how men can play in women's sports. And he said, we're going to have we want all states to do that. And the states that don't, the federal government's going to remove funding from those states. And Maine is one of the states that is keeping that rule of men can play in women's sports. Well, President Trump said you don't want to do that. I'll remove the funding. And the Maine governor said, well, I'll see you in court. And I'll stop there because I want you guys to watch that back and forth. President Trump, the old school, man, it was good. I've watched it 3 or 4 times. So if you missed that clip, on our Rumble page, I'm going to double check right here live at 9:26 just to make sure I'll point you to the right direction on this. On Right Side Broadcasting Network, it is right there. It's posted 3 hours ago. So if you go to RSBN's channel, if you're not following the channel on Rumble, just go ahead and follow, and then you scroll down, and it's about the 3rd one down. There's our stream that we're watching right here. There's a featured stream that is above it, and then the 3rd stream down, it says watch, okay? So when you go to watch, it says President Trump delivers remarks at the governor's working session. This was from today. Go ahead and scroll through that and find that moment when the camera, you'll see that, so usually it's a tight shot like this, right? But you'll see the camera pull out pretty wide and go to the side. That's the moment where the back and forth between the Maine governor happened. You gotta check it out. It's gonna be one of those things, you know how on YouTube or on Rumble you see like a compilation of President Trump saying things to like a reporter or saying things to people, and it just shuts people down, and it's in a respectful but powerful way. Well, that's the first one I've heard from the second administration. So pretty cool stuff. It's the bottom of the hour. Let's thank Colonial Metals Group as we await Kristi Noem, the DHS secretary from obviously South Dakota, but now at the Department of Homeland Security. Let's talk about Colonial Metals Group. I interviewed the CEO, Paul Stone, earlier. That interview will be playing in the near future. You can get your free 2025 gold guide by going to freegoldguide.com/RSBN. It's all about tax-sheltered IRA, 401k when it comes to backing it in gold and silver. So it's freegoldguide.com is where to go for that. So a great sponsor here at the network. And go to the QR code if you'd like. That gets you right to that website. Again, a hedge against inflation, and also gold and silver, always high value. So it's good to put that retirement, some of it, or any savings into Colonial Metals Group. So freegoldguide.com. Well, there it is, the White House. 32 days ago, President Trump was sworn in and spent his first night there at that 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Now filled with America First staff, now filled with greatness, quite the night and day difference from the last so-called administration. So wonderful to see that as it's the bottom of the hour. Getting ready to go to CPAC there, where it is the Ronald Reagan dinner, a tradition at CPAC. Of course, the DHS Secretary Kristi Noem will be the keynote speaker. So if we have a live feed there, Director, we could possibly go there at this point, as it's about 9:30 here Eastern. We know she'll be speaking at any minute, so looking forward to that here live on Right Side Broadcasting Network. You could follow us on Truth Social as well at RSBN, or follow us on X at RSB Network. Both accounts have more than 1 million people following. I know Truth is upwards of, I believe, 1.75 million. So at last check, I might as well check that as well, just to keep up the tabs on the numbers here. It looks like, 1.77 million on Truth Social, and 1.1 getting to 1.2 over on X. So it's great to see the numbers increasing as we expand here at the network. Again, beautiful live pictures from the Capitol and the White House there, with just at the rear of the White House, the South Lawn. You can see the base of the Washington Monument, and then toward the left of the White House back a bit, of course, the Jefferson Memorial way back, and then to the right is the Lincoln Memorial. So a great spot there in Washington, D.C., as we await the DHS Secretary Kristi Noem at CPAC to take the stage. So again, tomorrow's coverage, I believe, starts at 8:30. Let me double check on the fly here, because definitely want you guys to tune in and be live with us tomorrow as we get ready to see President Trump speak tomorrow at CPAC. Producer, if you could let me know when day 3 coverage will be starting tomorrow, that'd be great. I cannot find it because we have a lot of clips from CPAC today on Rumble. All right, and that's 7:30 Eastern? Okay, cool, thank you. So 7:30 Eastern, right here on Right Side Broadcasting Network, as we get ready to see President Trump tomorrow at CPAC. So it'll be awesome. It'll be wonderful to see it. And also, it'll be great to hear from We the People, or any other interviews that our hosts have up there, because just hearing what their thoughts are about that first month of the presidency, as, again, 75 executive orders in just 32 days. That is quadruple the amount Obama did and double the amount Biden did. And again, the executive orders under President Trump, 1 million times better than what those guys would have done any day of the week. So we're happy about that here at the network, as it's based in common sense and truth. Again, outside of President Trump, I mean, we are focused on just what things you're focused on. We want to have safety in this country. We want to have law and order. We want to have our freedom, our constitution, constitutional rights intact. We want to be able to dream big again and create and have business and have wealth and health and love and all that, you know? At the end of the day, that's what, as humans, that's what we want. And that's what God made us to desire. It's okay to desire to have a roof over your head or have comfort, you know? You got to work for it, but that's what we want in this country. So that's even outside of the president. So obviously, when you see the president line up with all of those things, it's common sense to want to vote for someone like that. So let's look at some of the breaking reports that are happening out there, whether it's Breaking 911 or Leading Report. It looks like Leading Report is saying just 57 minutes ago that I just clicked on the wrong thing there. Trying to get to it in a second. All right, so that's not working for some reason, but that's okay. We do know that, again, 75 executive orders in 32 days for President Trump. So as soon as we get that live feed there at the CPAC, we can go there. Director, is that still happening? Do we have a live feed? Okay, cool. All right, so we're about to go there live at any minute there at CPAC, getting ready for Kristi Noem. Of course, we're seeing a lot of reduction along the southern border with the amount of illegal immigrants crossing there. We've been seeing so many great statistics come out from the White House with that, and it's something that's needed. You know, we need to see that. We need to also see what Kash Patel said earlier today. If you're just joining us, he says, I am living the American dream. We will uphold the Constitution. We will uphold ourselves to the Constitution. That said, of course, by Kash Patel earlier today. And if you missed that as well, you could watch the Kash Patel swearing in, the Howard Lutnick swearing in for the Secretary of Commerce, which was awesome as well. All right, so we're looking live there at the Ronald Reagan dinner. And if you have not seen the movie Reagan, please see it. And if you're like me and my wife, we watched it. I watched it 3 times. She's watched it twice. And had with her family as well. We're visiting, and they love the movie as well. So the movie Reagan is just quite awesome. Looking forward to seeing this speech by Kristi Noem there. Why don't we take you there live, let you get a feel of what it's like to be there as it's 9:30.
Who we have on stage with us at CPAC? Let me tell you, this is a great honor. I think one of the most powerful women in our U.S. government right now, Secretary Kristi Noem, our Secretary of Homeland Security. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. It's an honor to be with you.
Apparently we were supposed to deport Mike Rowe and Matt Schlapp. So.
Yes, I have just issued a warrant for Mike Rowe.
Right. Okay.
So
be on alert.
Thank him for being here tonight, and we'll next see his face on a wanted poster.
Okay.
Too long.
So let me ask you this. That was one of the best ads. So powerful. Tell us about this multi-million-dollar ad that you have going on. Why was it important to send this message out to individuals who have no business being in our country?
Well, you know, it's interesting. After I was nominated to be the Department of Homeland Security Secretary, President Trump talked to me several times. We had several meetings during the transition talking about it. And he said to me one day, we had a meeting, I left his office, and then Natalie came chasing me down the hall, and she goes, the president wants to tell you something he forgot to visit with you about. So I came back into his office, and he said, Kristi, do you know those ads that you did in South Dakota?
Oh,
and
yes,
I said, yes, sir. You mean my Freedom Works Here ads? And he said, yeah, those ones where those beautiful ads, those beautiful ads you did about South Dakota. They had Mount Rushmore, all those things. He said, I want you to do those for the border.
Brilliant.
And I said, well, sir, I don't know how that works. You mean the ones where I was a plumber and where I was an electrician? And I don't know if I can do those for the border. And he said, no, I want you to do those for the border. And I want you to do those everywhere, not just in the United States, but I want them around the world. I want you to tell people not to come to this country if they're going to come here illegally. And I said, well, sir, we can do press conferences. You know, we can tell people what we're doing. And he said, nope, we're not going to let the media tell this story because the media will never tell the truth. We're going to do a marketing campaign to make sure the American people know the truth of what you're doing. And I said, well, sir, do you want to be in those ads? And he said, nope. Nope, I want you to do them.
No?
He said, no, I don't. I want you in the ads. He said, I want you in the ads and I want your face in the ads. But he said, but I want the first ad. I want you to thank me. So I want you to thank me for closing the border. And I said, yes, sir, I will thank you for closing the border. So if you notice in that ad, we thanked him for closing the border. And then, you know, there's strong language in those ads. Those ads talk about, we will hunt you down. And that if you come to this country, that you will not get the chance to return. If you leave voluntarily, you may have the opportunity to have the American dream. But if we have to come looking for you and hunt you down, then you have lost that chance. And I don't think there's ever been a secretary that has said that before, much less a president. And these ads are running not just in the United States. They're going to run in the Middle East. They're going to run in Central America. They're going to run throughout the world, letting the world know that America has a new leader.
I mean, because you're talking about over, you know, individuals coming to our country illegally over, 100 countries, 140 countries. So let me ask you this. That first week after you were confirmed, well, before we even go there, you got to give us the backstory, how President Trump said, okay, you're my pick for Homeland Security. Because we were, you know, when we were all out there going, okay, what is Governor Kristi Noem, what is she going to be? Secretary of Ag, Secretary of Interior, and then it was Secretary of Homeland Security. Tell us that backstory.
Well, it's kind of an interesting story because my husband and I had talked during, you know, after the election, you know, if we get asked to do something, what would you do?
Right.
And I said, well, people have mentioned, do you want to do agriculture? Would you be interested in interior? And my husband and I talked about it. And, you know, when you live in South Dakota, you live a pretty special life. And we've got kids and we've got grandchildren. We live on a ranch. I'm an outdoors person. And I said, listen, I'm not really interested in leaving the governorship in South Dakota unless I'm doing something that's significant.
Right.
And he said, well, what is significant to you? And I said, well, it would be the president's #1 priority. And he said, well, my husband said, well, what is that? And I said, well, it's the border and immigration. So it would be Homeland Security would be what I would need to ask for. And he said, okay, that is every dysfunctional agency in the federal government.
That's
is
right.
in Homeland Security. And he said, well, that would be consistent because as long as I've been married to you, whatever it is, if there could be 3 choices, you always pick the hardest thing to do.
Right.
So he said, that makes sense that you would ask for that. And I said, well, nobody is even considering me for Homeland Security, so this will be a big surprise. So the first person I visited about it with was Howard Lutnick, who was facilitating a lot of things in the transition and asked me what I'd be interested in. He was shocked by that. And then one day I mentioned it to President Trump when he called me on the phone and asked me, had a conversation. I said, sir, not only do you need to close the border and make sure that we're deporting people by the millions, which he has talked about and promised the American people, you need somebody that is tough enough to actually do it. This is not going to be a 6-month job. This is going to be a job to deport that many people and to add some integrity back to our federal laws. It's going to take a long time. And you need somebody who can message that, but who is actually strong enough to do it. And I couldn't think of anybody else that I knew of that would actually do what the president was saying he was going to do.
Right.
And I told the president, I said, when you talk about this, I also think it's extremely beneficial for you to have someone who's messaging this to the American people that is a mom.
Yeah.
That's a grandma that recognizes that there's a human side to this.
There's
as well.
human side to it, and it's public safety, because what do parents want to do? They want to protect their families, their children.
Yes, and this is about our country and adding safety back to our country and making sure that Americans are put first. And yes, we understand that there's people that will be impacted and families that will be impacted, and we're going to handle this in a way that America always does. We're going to do it with excellence, but we're going to do the right thing.
Right.
And we're going to make sure we follow through on what the president promised. So I think he was excited about that, but what was so interesting to me was one day Howard called me and he said, can you get to Mar-a-Lago by 2:00 this afternoon? And I said,
wait, from South Dakota?
Yeah, I said,
that's
okay,
a little
so I'm
challenging.
in South Dakota, and that's impossible.
Right.
So I said, I don't know if I can. And I said, I'll do anything I can. He said, I'm going to try to fit you into the president's schedule, but I'm not sure, if I can, but if there's an extra moment, I want to put you in front of him today. I broke my back to get there. Like, I took every flight possible and figured it out. Walked in the door of Mar-a-Lago at 4:30 in the afternoon, 2.5 hours late, and Howard walked out and he said, the president just left. And I said, you're kidding me. He said, no. And I said, all right. And he said, well, do you want to come have dinner with me tonight and my son? And I said, sure, I can do that. So went to dinner with Howard and his son. We're sitting there talking, and Howard's phone rings. Meanwhile, Howard shows me where they're doing interviews for cabinet positions. He walked me into a room that was a long table with dozens of TV screens and a long table with a chair sitting at the end. And he said, this is where people who get interviewed sit. This table is filled with national security experts, people that will interview you. They will be zooming in from all over the country and the world.
No pressure.
People who understand Homeland Security, all the agencies, and we will interview you and ask you questions for... I said, well, how long does that take? And he said, probably about an hour and a half, or could take 2 hours, or if you're really bad, it could take 10 minutes. So that was the first time I started to get nervous, because I had not prepared for something like that.
Right.
We did this. He showed me all of that. Then we left and went to dinner. We're sitting at dinner, and Howard's phone rings. And I hear Howard say, yes, Mr. President. Yes, I like her, too. Is that what you want to do? Is that okay? Yes, sir. I think she'd be fantastic. Okay, well, then go ahead and do that. And he hangs up the phone. And I'm sorry, I'm going to use some colorful language here, but Howard turns to me and he said, what the fuck just happened? and looked at me like he was mad. And I said, what do you mean? And he said, the president just called me and said he's going to make you the Homeland Security Secretary. And I said, so he repeated his question. He said, what the F just happened? And I said, I have no idea. And he was You know, because for Howard, he follows this process. Everybody gets interviewed. This is how we do things. And the president had just hijacked it. And my phone rang like 30 seconds later, and it was the president. And he said, Kristi, I'm wondering if you would be interested in being my Homeland Security Secretary. You know, would you be willing to do that? And I said, yes, sir. Thank you very much. Yes, I'll do a very good job. He said, okay, I'm excited. Thank you. We had a nice conversation, hung up. You know, and Howard stood up and congratulated me and hugged me, and all of that was done. And we talked, but then when we left that evening, I got back to my hotel room and I called my husband and I said, well, this was weird how all this just happened because, oh, and the president said on the phone, he said, where are you tonight? I said, I'm in Palm Beach. He goes, you're in Palm Beach? What are you doing in Palm Beach? And I said, well, Howard called me to come down here. And he said, Howard called you to come to Palm Beach? And he said, well, where are you now? I said, I'm having dinner with Howard. And he goes, put me on the phone with Howard. He said to Howard, why are you having dinner with Kristi Noem? And Howard said, well, you finally picked a good-looking cabinet secretary, so I'm not a dummy. Me and my son took her out for dinner. But what I told my husband that night on the phone is I said, here's what was interesting about that experience for me was that I feel like God facilitated that whole day because I went to Mar-a-Lago and I had to see what every other cabinet secretary had to go through to get a position. I had to see how they were interrogated, how they had to be prepared for their position that they were going to be taking on and everything. And then God said, but I'm not going to make you do that. It almost felt to me like it was God confirming to me how strong he had placed on my heart that this was the job I was supposed to have. He wanted me to know what was required of everybody, but I'm not going to make you do that. This is something that you're going to do because I have the confidence you can do it. And the president had the confidence to give it to me. So it was a very special day for me.
Amazing. So I loved it. The first week after you were confirmed, you're dressed up so cool, going up, busting up the illegal aliens up in New York, then heading down to the border while let's see, who is that secretary? Oh, Alejandro Mayorkas. You know Alejandro Mayorkas? The guy who sat behind his desk that I don't think even barely visited the border? Yeah, loser. So here's the deal. You've got Secretary Noem. She goes out nonstop. Tell us about what you saw as you were going to New York when you went to the border. Tell us what you saw on the ground.
Well, I don't believe I can really know what my agencies are doing unless what I know what the people on the front lines are doing and what they go through every day. And frankly, for the agencies in Border Patrol and in ICE, TSA, all these different agencies, I have FEMA, we have a huge recruitment issue, especially in Border Patrol and ICE. The morale is at the lowest it probably had ever been because you had people that signed up for a job that weren't being allowed the last 4 years to do their jobs.
Right.
So for me to go there and spend time with them was important. But the morning that we went to New York City, I left my apartment at 1:30 in the morning, went to the airport, got on a flight, got to New York City. We had a briefing at 3 o'clock with about the 75 to 100 enforcement officers that were going to go out and run ops that morning. And these were different agencies partnering, the DEA, ATF, ICE, HSI. And we were going out and we had warrants on quite a few people, but they were very dangerous. People that had warrants for murder, assault, drug, and human trafficking. And we're going to be going out. And the reason that we were going out at night was because that's when people were off the streets. It would be safe situations.
Right.
They would be at home, and we'd be able to go sweep them up and take them in and be able to process them and get them incarcerated. So what was interesting to me was, you know, we got there and immediately the HSI officer said, do you want to get in the Bearcat with us to go do this operation? I said, absolutely. Like, yes, I do. And they said, and then I have Secret Service detail, and they said, no, she's not. And I go, yeah, yes, I am. They said, no, we recommend, ma'am, that you not get in there because that's just not safe. And so when they were visiting with somebody else, I got in the Bearcat with the HSI guys and got in the front, and we went out to do the op. But what was interesting to me is how professional these individuals are and how much they were working to get these bad people out of these apartments that were filled with people who were trafficking drugs and human beings. We were in the Bronx. They were operating with professionalism. I had spent probably several hours the night before on the phone with the mayor of New York City, with NYPD, trying to get them to facilitate some backup for us.
Right.
And a lot of phone calls talking to people that, frankly, they said they'd never heard from the Secretary of Homeland Security before, much less did they dream they would have a secretary helping to coordinate the safety of law enforcement officers. But this is what I think everybody needs to know, is that as those ops were happening, it's 4 o'clock in the morning, and we're continuing to pull these guys in. They're members of TDA. The one guy we pulled in was one of the ringleaders that you saw on the videos coming out of Aurora, Colorado. So that was one of the guys that we went and got, and he had just tried to purchase grenades that week and a gun buy. And I don't have any idea why you would need grenades in the United States of America.
Right.
And this individual came out of an apartment building, and as we're bringing him out, people walking by on the streets were walking by me and walking by our law enforcement officials and saying, thank you so much. And these community members, whatever you hear on the news, or ever how much time CNN or MSNBC or the liars on the network TVs make it sound like we're going after these poor innocent individuals, the people who have to live in the communities with these individuals, they are walking their children to school and they're walking by us and saying, thank you. Thank you for being here and for doing this and getting these bad dudes off our streets.
And you know what was so pathetic, Madam Secretary? That the media was more concerned about what you were wearing than what you were doing.
Yeah.
Talk to us about that.
Well, we were so busy the first few days, I didn't realize people were making fun of me until several days later.
You know what it is? They're
I think it
jealous of you.
Well,
for sure.
I gotta tell you, when you're hanging out with guys with big guns and vests and stuff, it's not a bad day. That's kind of right up my alley. But the other thing that was important to me is they would, like, Border Patrol gave me their hat and their coat, and they wanted me to wear it and be proud of them.
Yes.
So when I wear their hats and their coats, and of course the vest was there for safety reasons, they know that I'm proud of them, and I'm proud of the job that they're doing. And I'll tell you, recruitment for Border Patrol is through the roof in the last 30 days. People want to be Border Patrol agents now. That's a complete change under this administration.
Truly amazing. You've also got DOGE basically coming into the Department of Homeland Security. What are you seeing there? What are you looking to eliminate? What are you looking to fix? What are you looking to innovate in the Homeland Security Department?
Well, I've placed my order for chainsaws.
Oh, okay.
So.
Okay. Wait, we might be able to find one around here. I don't know.
I gotta tell you, there's something powerful. If you don't own a chainsaw, go buy one, first of all. I'll never forget when I got my first chainsaw. I kind of just walked around the ranch and thought, what can I cut now? So if you haven't had one, they really are fantastic. But the DOGE guys have been extremely powerful. I can't tell you how thankful I am for them every day, because they're going in and digging out not just wasteful spending, but also wasteful positions that don't need to be there anymore. A lot of times over the years, people have looked to the federal government to be the answer to their problems. And the DOGE guys are helping us teach the American people that the federal government is not the answer.
Yeah.
That the federal government many times is not the answer to the problems that they have. We're going back to what I want to add as an element of education in this country about our founders envisioned exactly what the DOGE guys are doing. They envisioned that the federal government would not be powerful. They would not be the source of authority and governance and founding, that it would be the states and the local entities that would do that. And so when they come forward with an idea in Homeland Security, I love it, because they have had the time to root out something we shouldn't be doing. And I look back at exactly what Reaganism was, what federalism was, and show that they're giving me an opportunity to return our country back to that. In fact, when the CBP One app, do you guys remember the conversation about the CBP One app that Biden had set up that facilitated allowing people to come into our country illegally? Well, we shut that down on day one and didn't want it to be utilized anymore. But we needed some kind of a app to be established, because we are in control of all the border, not just the border, but the customs and trade that goes through the country. So anything that comes through a port or a package or it comes through the country, I'm responsible for.
Right.
And so typically we need an app that we can use for offshore shipping containers that are coming in, that they can fill out the paperwork before they hit the port so we can be efficient. And in talking to individuals within the federal government, they said, you know what? We can build that app for you. We can build that technology for you. Just give us 4 months and we'll have that done. And so I called the DOJ guys, called Kyle, who's assigned to the Department of Homeland Security, and he said, we can have that up in 24 hours. I'm like, are you kidding me? You are fantastic.
Yes.
So now we
Yes.
have CBP One or CBP Go, which is the app that we use for trade, has nothing to do and doesn't facilitate any kind of asylum or illegal entry into the country. It helps us make sure that we're able to do trade and make sure that we're collecting the tariffs that President Trump talks about so much, and doing it in a way with an app that the DOJ guys helped us develop in 24 hours and didn't have to wait 4 months for it to get done.
So I do want to ask you this. At CPAC, we have our CPAC Center for Combating Human Trafficking. This is a big issue for many of our investors, the people who really understand this horrific humanitarian crisis that we've seen. I know for you, I mean, your children, your grandchildren, I mean, it is heart-wrenching to hear these stories, to hear about the missing children, to hear about the incompetence of the former administration that have led to so many children that we have no idea where they are. Give us an update on that situation.
Yeah, so we have, what cartels were doing was not only were they trafficking individuals, but they were recycling children in order to facilitate it. To cross the border, they would bring a child with them, knowing the Biden administration would let the entire group into the country then, and really on parole if they had a child with them. And then those cartel members would send the same child back over the border back south and bring them through with another group. And because the Biden administration had stopped doing any kind of DNA testing in individuals, they were able to utilize that. We immediately required DNA testing again.
Perfect.
And the number one thing that happens so often is that these families that come across aren't families at all. They're individuals who are using these children to get across the border and trafficking them and handing them off to someone else into this country to abuse them. And the Office of Refugee Resettlement is one of the biggest abusers of putting people in positions and facilitating trafficking, and where we put these people in supposed safe homes that we've been able to stop just through DNA samples of children and tracking to make sure they belong with the people that they belong with, and then when they're not, to make sure that we're taking them out and getting them into safe situations, returning them back to their families. And that's the heart side of this that nobody talks about with our president. We have the biggest president. I mean, he's the biggest badass we've ever had, right? As far as a president that this country's ever seen, that the world has ever seen. And now he's come into this presidency with the confidence and to go in and to do things and do them right, and to make sure that he has a team around him that will go to the mat every single time too. But if you watch him, he's doing it, and he's doing it for the next generation and for our kids.
Yes.
And he's doing it for the children of the world, and making sure we're doing these policies that will make sure that trafficking is addressed, and partnering with our states and our attorney generals to make sure that it's addressed as well.
And we look forward to partnering with you as well. I do want to wrap up with this one question. You just had a grandbaby 2 weeks ago.
I did.
What's her name?
Her name is Noah Lynn, and Noah means peace and rest. And so that is exactly what I think our country needs to embrace right now, is that we're in this period of, yes, thank you. That's my 4th grandbaby. Yes, so I've got 3 girls and a boy right now, and they're all under the age of 4. But Noah Lynn is my middle name, so I'm kind of excited about the fact that I've got a little girl in the family that's carrying on my middle name too. But we're so excited. This is my middle daughter, Kennedy, that had her first grandbaby, and they're doing really well. So I was pretty thankful I got to be there when she was born and stick around for a few days and make sure that Grandma was going to be her best friend.
Amazing. I do want to say last thoughts here for our CPAC audience, as you're really taking on this job, this very, very tough job, and we, of course, are praying for you and your ability to get it done, and I know you're going to be so successful in this. But tell us just final thoughts for our audience.
You know, what I would say is everything in your life, you're formed by the people you spend time with. So growing up, I spent every day with my dad. He was my best friend. So people ask me, you know, why I do what I do. And it is because my dad taught me that when I die, I should at least be able to look back and say, I lived a life of significance, that it mattered. So I had kind of a crazy dad. He was a cowboy. So he was the one that woke us up every day. I think I've probably said it to the CPAC crowd before. Every day by yelling up the stairs, get up. More people die in bed than anywhere else. So I always wondered if that was true, but it maybe is. So it's a good reason to get out of bed in the morning. But he also sent us out the door every day as kids saying, drive fast and take chances. But
I like that.
Again, that's strange for a father to recommend. But what it has taught me is I'm not a feminist. I was raised by a dad who made us strong as girls, and I was raised in a family where girls could do anything that boys could do. But I also think that, you know, one of the books that impacted my life the most was a book that talked about how we talk to our children and how the words that we say to our children matter, and it forms who they are when they grow up. And it talked about how even our fairy tales many times are written in a way to define roles. And it talked about the fairy tale of Little Red Riding Hood. How even in Little Red Riding Hood, if you remember the story, it was she was going to Grandma's house, and if she stayed on the path, she would be safe. But it was off the path where all the risks were, and the danger was, and the wolf, and that if you stayed on the path, you'd be fine. And really the message of the fairy tale was stay on the path and don't take risks. And the message of that fairy tale was, if you were a little girl, many times to get to Grandma's house safely, right? But one of the things that that book and the message that it had was that they wished every little girl would grow up knowing that they were never Little Miss Riding Hood, that they were always the wolf. And that's what I think we need to think about right now in this country, is we should not wake up every day with a victim mentality, a defeatist mentality, that we have these huge challenges in front of us. Our president doesn't. Our president wakes up every day knowing he's the greatest president of all time, right? He knows that. And we should wake up with the confidence that we don't have to live in fear of straying off the path. We should look for opportunities to get off the path, because every opportunity in my life has come to me because I've taken a risk, because I've been willing to put myself out there and do something different. And I'll be the wolf. I'll be the wolf if I need to. I'll be the one out there that is making sure that we have those opportunities and those challenges and placing them in front of other people so that they really go after the biggest opportunities that are out there. And that I hope we pass that on to our kids and our grandkids. We are saving this country for a reason.
That's right.
We are saving it for our kids and our grandkids. And that's why I do my job, and I hope that's why you're here tonight. I know that's why Matt and Mercedes do what they do. They don't do this for themselves or so you can come and have a fun few days with people. They're doing it because we don't want people to forget what America's about.
Amen.
America was created by individuals who made huge sacrifices for us, and we shouldn't lose it on our watch. Remember our history, gather together, and then go out and fight and make sure that we're taking charge of those opportunities that are in front of us. So God bless you for what you do and letting me come and visit with you.
Oh,
it's
how
been wonderful.
Incredible, Madam Secretary Kristi Noem. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yep. You were awesome. I loved it.
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the 2020.
All right, so Secretary of DHS Kristi Noem speaking at the Reagan dinner there in National Harbor. We'd like to also thank MyPillow for being a great broadcast sponsor here. MyPillow.com/RSBN for more information on more than 2,000 products right there at MyPillow.com. So tomorrow, CPAC, the president, speaking there at National Harbor, Maryland. RSBN's Robert McNeely, Ashley Brassfield, and Christina Loren will bring you that live coverage. We're looking forward to seeing you guys at CPAC tomorrow on Right Side Broadcasting Network. For all of us here at Right Side, I'm Matthew Alvarez. We'll see you in the morning.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
I'm excited to announce that we're having our first ever mega sale on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save over 50% on this season's flannel sheets. Queen size only $59.98. Kings only $69.98. They sell out fast every year, so order now. Save 20% on our brand new My Crosses. They're designed in the likeness of the one I've worn every day for over 20 years. They come in men's and women's, and they're made right here in the USA. Get our 2025 six-piece My Towel sets for only $29.98. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. And our best-selling standard My Pillows, just $14.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to take advantage of our first ever mega sale. But wait, remember that $75 free shipping rule? Well, that ship is sale because right now, every order ships absolutely free.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
Families across the nation have arrived at a heartbreaking crossroad to surrender their beloved animals at alarming rates due to inflation and soaring costs of living.
There are so many overcrowded shelters. So many dogs need a home, but it's all of us working together to solve this crisis.
This fight requires both doers and dollars. Join us at Big Dog Ranch Rescue. Please sign up today.